let's get to college football playoff talk. They're meeting August the 30th. They'll consider 2 new playoff proposals in a 12-team model. What 2 are they looking at, Caleb? And then we'll discuss what might be best for an SEC team, a la the University of Tennessee as well. But what are they looking at? What's the difference? Because the Pac-12's kind of messed everything up, or the lack thereof.
Yes, because the Pac-12 has collapsed, it used to be the top 6 conference champions and then the top 6 wild card. And that way, all Power 5 champions could go, plus one of the top group of 5 teams, and then just the top 6 teams after that. Obviously, you can't consider the Pac-12 a Power 5 conference anymore. It's barely a conference. So
Forget Power 5. It's barely even a conference.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't have a Pac-4 champion going. So now right now, and I think it's going to be less in 2 years, but right now there's a Power 4. So it makes sense to have the top. So they're floating 2 proposals. One is the top 5 conference champions. So just eliminate the Pac-12. So you have a Power 4, then one group of 5, 6, whatever. And then 7 wild cards. The other floated option is just top 12, period, end of story. I understand. I really do understand that the integrity of the sport would suggest you should just do top 12, because if you're really that good of a conference champion, you're going to be top 5 anyway, or one of the top 12 teams anyway. But I would also say, I think the conference champion and automatic bids at least adds some theater to the regular season. And I think that's something college football doesn't want to lose. I mean, the NFL still lets 8 and 8 teams that win their division get automatic playoff berths.
No, and I'm curious what you think would be best for the SEC, because the SEC, it's not going to be a matter of arguing for 2 teams. It's going to be a matter of arguing for 3 teams, and maybe even in some cases 4 teams. So I believe that you should have a formula like the old BCS formula, and that it shouldn't matter if you're a conference champion or not. I've always been of that ilk, and I think those sort of things will sort themselves out. And I realize that could deflate the conference championship thing, but that's how I would do it. So what best benefits the SEC?
It best benefits. I'm splitting the baby here, but here's an interesting take. It best benefits the SEC to do the top 12. We know that. However,
like a BCS formula type of thing?
Yes, exactly. However, for individual SEC teams, it best benefits to do the other way, because if you're Tennessee, for instance, and you get into the playoff, say you're the 3rd team, you're getting in either way, top 5, 7, or just top 12. If it's top 12, you'll get in, but a 9-3 Florida might get in. Would you rather a 9-3 Florida get in, or a 11-1 conference champ Utah State get in? You'd rather the 11-1 conference champ Utah State get in. That makes your path a little bit easier to the national championship.
Yeah, I would prefer. I mean, wouldn't you? As opposed to the conference champion getting in, wouldn't that make for better games if a 9-3 SEC team gets in over, let's say, a 10-2 conference champion from, let's say, the Mountain West becomes a Power 5 conference, which it could. I would rather see the 3rd best team in the SEC, or maybe even the 4th best team in the SEC in some years, than a very good team in the Mountain West.
I would, but if I'm a fan of that SEC team, I'd rather play the Mountain West team in the playoff than the the other SEC team. And so that's where this goes. So it depends. Would you rather have more opportunities to reach the playoff, or have a slightly easier road once you get in the playoff? That's the question for the SEC.
And I'm going to split the baby too a little bit, because I like the SEC championship game, and I don't want it to turn into the NCAA basketball tournament, which is really all that college basketball has going for it, right? The SEC basketball tournament. I don't want it to be just completely meaningless. I want the SEC championship game to mean something. So I get that side of the argument. LSU, for instance, had they won an SEC championship, not made a 12-team playoff, it would have looked a little bit bizarre last year. And I know they would have been in the hunt nevertheless. But yeah, I'm splitting a little bit. And I know that I'm, supposed to take one side and do the hot take stuff. But I would like to see a conference champion get in. I just want to be real particular about who the conferences are. Obviously, the Pac-12 is out of the discussion. Does that bring the Mountain West in? Or eventually we're going to say an automatic berth for Conference USA? I mean, that's what I'm afraid will happen at some point. They're going to start to pull others in for conference champions to be automatic berths. So if I had to pick, if you're asking Dave Hooker to pick today, I would say that I want a formula that picks out the top 12. But I hope that doesn't mean the SEC championship game becomes the SEC basketball tournament.
The only thing...
By the way, Travis, splitting the baby, do you want to explain that phrase? I think I heard it just a couple weeks ago, started using it.
It's a biblical story. There were two women who both fought over the parental rights of a baby, and King Solomon, to test who was the real mother, said, cut the baby in half and we'll see.
So then nobody wins anything.
Well, no, he said, cut the baby in half, and that's the compromise. You guys each get half the baby. Well, one woman's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then the other woman is like, well, no, just you can have the baby. I just don't want my baby dead. And King Solomon's like, well, that's obviously the mother because she didn't want her baby dead. Now, who the heck wanted the baby cut in half? Like that's the hilarity of that story. Like, did somebody...
So it basically is saying for our context that we're a little bit split on the argument. So, yes. Caleb, are you split? You said you're a little split on the argument. Would you rather... Go ahead.
For the integrity of the playoff, I think that at the top 12 makes the most sense. It's silly to do this automatic bid thing anymore. But I do think you're going to have issues where, Kirby Smart brought this up. What if two SEC teams are 12 if you just do a top 12, what if two SEC teams are 12-0 playing for the SEC title? If you're both 12-0, you're probably going to be in the top 4 of the college football playoff, meaning you're going to get a first round bye. Why would either team even try? Why would you risk injury at that point? And so I think that there's kind of an issue here with, I'm warning you guys. I am telling you, Dave, I know you're debating me on this. You are devaluing everything we hold dear about college football with this 12-team playoff the way it's going, because the SEC championship is getting rendered borderline irrelevant. Top 2 matchups in the regular season don't matter anymore because both teams are going to the playoff. So who cares? And now with the top 12, they both might get first round byes even. So I'm just warning you guys, this is not... It's borderline the college basketball regular season at this point.
What if you lose could you put a slight phrase in there that if you lose your conference championship game, you can't be in the college football playoff?
You mean in the first round? You mean in the first round bye thing?
No, let's just say if you lose your conference championship game, you cannot be in the college football playoff.
So you're telling me...
No, let me throw this at you. Seriously. If Georgia had lost last year to LSU in the SEC championship game, they could not be in the college football playoff. What about that caveat? We've never flipped it.
But then, so you're saying Tennessee could go then, which they would have last year? And so Georgia would be punished for actually having gone to play for the SEC title? You do that, Dave, no one's going to try to play for the SEC title. They're going to try to back out of having to play that game.
Yeah, maybe I should think on that a little longer.
Like, all right, I'm going to tell you guys, if you want the 12-team playoff and you want to make it work, it's not working in this scenario. The way it's going, it's not going to work. You should have 8 16-team conferences. That's your all of college football. 8 16-team conferences. The top 4 conference champs get first round byes. The next 4 get home playoff games. And then you get 4 wild cards. Then every regular season game matters. But the way you're going, a 20-team Big Ten, a 16-team SEC that will eventually be a 20-team SEC, I'm sorry, guys. This is college football has sacrificed 3 months for 1 month. That's what they've done. And that's just a fact. They have sacrificed 3 months of entertainment for one extra month of entertainment.
Yeah, but it's pretty high drama. And I'd have to be a TV exec to tell you if the numbers are good enough in order to do that. But the other thing, at some point, you're going to be butting up against coverage of the NFL. And as popular as college football is, and as much as we love it, the NFL usually wins in that regard. I think you would agree with that.
And also, SEC championship game, conference champions are silly now. Because when there's a 20-team conference and you play 9 teams in that conference, there is no way with any shred of integrity you can declare a real conference champion without factoring in schedule strength or something like that.
Now, I agree with all of that.